what was called a Tule Lake farm strike occurred at Tule Lake middle of August, only 2.5 months after the camp opened. It was a wildcat strike in that it was not a well-organized strike, and for that reason the strike came to an end as suddenly as it occurred. It occurred on a Friday morning when the farm workers gathered because there were complaints about the kind of terrible breakfast they'd had. Farmers can't work on breakfast like the kind we had, was the kind of argument. And that spread over into questions of when were they going to get clothing, when were they going to get paid, and so on, as they had not in the period when the strike broke out. This wildcat strike over that weekend was the most dramatic sociological experience I've ever gone into or had, in the sense that people were just wild with anger over what was happening to them. And then Monday morning, everything broke up when one of the Nisei farm leaders, a very small, quiet, very bright man, gets up and says, well, he says, let's go back to work, and the administration has promised us certain kinds of corrections of the difficulty which have developed here. Let's find out to see whether they will fulfill what they are promising us or not, instead of striking. And then some Nisei farmers yell, "Sansei, Sansei, approve," with his idea. And then the whole thing breaks up and the wildcat strike is over. Well, whereas the strike leaders are trying to hold the workers there, they're unable to do so because it breaks up so suddenly. And as I say, I think it was a great demonstration of what crowds are like. But given that event, then we get a series of 10, I've written them all up in a series of reports about 10 strikes and rebellions and protests of one kind or another which developed at Tule Lake, ending up in mid-October or late October in a camp-wide strike because the mess hall crew struck. I guess it was and if you have the mess hall crews striking throughout the camp, why, that brings everything to a halt, because the way they struck was to say, we will not feed you except at the times when we ring the gong, and if you're not around the camp, you're not going to get fed. And the director said this is a communist plot to, because it was so cleverly designed to bring everything to a halt. It was a general strike of the community.